Welcome back, everybody, to My Hero Analysis Beyond, the MHA Rewatch Show with myself, Tom, and Steph.
Hi,
how you doing today, Steph?
I'm doing all right, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad. It's been a little hot. Having a little bit of a heat wave here in California, as you know. It's probably even hotter where you are, I'd imagine.
No, it's like 73, which is hot for us. So
73? Okay, I should move to where you are, except for we were talking about this beforehand. You don't have the best food options,
No.
So maybe not. Doesn't look like we have anybody in the chat yet. I mean, I guess that's what kind of happens when you take a week off. But we should just get right into it because we have like a massive show today, like crazy episodes. I think every episode for this arc and the arc to come afterwards are just going to be jam-packed with so much. It's just, we're getting introduced to new characters left and right. We have momentous shifts of people's abilities as they keep training and all this other stuff. So let's just get right into it. And I see James is here, so welcome, James. And hello, Christian.
Hello.
So let's jump in. And here we go.
Yeah, I think this is just recapping what we ended with last episode, which is All Might basically telling Deku that he needs to make his presence known since he's going to be his successor.
His ultimatum was a little tough. I mean, announcing that he's here and the kid can't even use his ability yet is a little much. But yeah, it was good though to have this as like a little intro again to kind of be like, oh yeah, here's the stakes of what we're about to watch.
I think it just goes in there.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like him asking him, hey, how are you going to answer this question? Basically, I am here. And then Midoriya is like, right? Yep, I'm going to do it. Which All Might, I think, at this point just topples over the back of his chair in disbelief. And then Deku gets into his muttering. So it's his typical, like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. How do I even get motivated for this kind of thing? So,
well, it's a good point he even brings up himself because he's like, most people here are competing to get a spot to be trained by a pro hero.
Yeah.
But Deku has the #1 pro hero already training him. So it's like, well, how am I going to have the motivation when I already have the pinnacle teaching me all this stuff? Like, what's really my motivation here? But we're learning, as we'll learn throughout this course of episodes, that All Might kind of feels like, you can't just want to be a hero to just save people. There's more to it than that, especially in this world where, popularity and all this stuff is a big part of it. Yeah. So he has to break through that.
No one's better at spouting nonsense than you. Which is not nonsense. It's actually logical, which made me laugh because I think Light sometimes needs to learn some lessons in nonsense.
I think All Might has been punched in the head a lot too.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest. All Might is a little dopey in some areas, so it doesn't matter how much logic Midoriya spouts, it's going to sound like nonsense. Well, he also mutters it, so.
Yeah. Oh, and this is when they go back to the classroom and all the other classes have decided to stand outside of 1A's door because they want to check them out. And Bakugo goes out there and basically calls them extras and all that stuff. And I like how Midoriya is like, that's Kachen in neutral. It's okay. He's not doing anything too crazy yet. So we'll see how it rolls. And everyone else
he's just ornery from the get-go and normal, and then he goes just extreme pretty much.
Yeah, so this is like him in like neutral, which means that he really doesn't care about these people in front of him. He's just like, but yeah, their reactions to everything. Stop calling people extras just because, his hand was like going nuts on that one.
Love it. Just because you don't know them. It doesn't even matter though if he knows them or not, as again we'll see in this string of 3 episodes. He doesn't even know the quirks of the people that he's been sharing classes with. So it doesn't matter if he knows them, he still thinks of them as extras. I think this is the reaction to Shinso.
Yeah, coming out and being like, I don't really care about you guys, like, and all this other stuff. Yeah, seems like He's just basically a Bakugo, but very calm, like saying, "I don't care about you either. I don't even know why we're out here looking at you because we can beat you." And he kind of lays
like Shinso explains something that the entire class 1A hasn't even thought of before or even knew about, is the fact that the whole sports festival, yes, it's a way to get internships and show off the abilities and whatnot, but it's also a way for people from the general studies course to make their way into the hero course, and possibly people in the hero course to get knocked out from that spot. So Shinso kind of pretty much tells them that, and that, shocks a lot of them. And it also, I think, kicks Deku at least into high gear, like, oh, he has to really try as well.
Yeah. I'll consider, yeah. He's very calm with his delivery too, because that's what he really wants to do, is be in the hero course. So it's really, this is when I also realized during the show that there was different classes. I thought everybody was in hero classes, just in different levels.
Yep, me too.
Finding out that there was like different areas in the school was kind of neat.
And I love that because, as we'll meet some standout people from some of the other classes in this episode set, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. We're going to have the people who make the costumes there. We're going to have the business course was the kind of the craziest part of it to me. It was like, wow, they even have like the people who will be the marketers for the heroes enrolled in this class as well. It's great. It's like so well thought out.
Yeah. And they're getting bold people all over the place.
Yep. And he just stares back blankly. He has such a good look.
Mm-hmm.
He always, like, I don't know, I feel like I resonate on a personal level with Shinso because I have dark circles under my eyes a lot of the time. And he's just very just understated too. And it's great. My hair is also wild these days.
Oh, and then the hey is somebody else announcing their presence, which you'll see in just
Tetsu.
Yeah. The part about him is like, he was excited to meet them all. He wanted to see who his competition was, and then for Bakugo to be rude to him, he was just like, "Oh, this is not going to fly."
I also love that I can only hear the hey in Bokuto, his voice. So like when I read it, I just instantly overlapped Tetsu's voice with his, and it made me laugh watching this. Yeah.
Oh. I forgot that he actually spouted some wisdom where he's like trying not to be too crazy about it. Actually, this might be Tetsu talking, or one of the other ones. I can't remember.
I think it makes sense though.
Yeah.
I don't know who says it.
Yeah.
It's Kirishima's reaction to Bakugo.
Yeah. He's like, "What are you going to say about all this?" And then Bakugo basically, doesn't matter as long as you rise to the top, which is like his main driven like theme, I think. Is like,
I think that's what resonates with Deku, right? And that's what kind of like ignites the fire under him.
And we all just kind of look at him like, "Oh, okay."
Well, yeah. That's his like shaking fist in the distance, his face melting into his neck. I don't even know what's happening here. I love Kirishima. He's the best.
He was very excited about Bakugo's little quote, so it made me laugh.
It's like so simple and manly.
Yep. And I like how everybody else is like, "Yes, that makes sense." This is also very good. Another closed eyes for Dark Shadow there.
This is Deku reflecting on what he actually means by saying that.
Because again, Deku is one of the few people that knows Bakugo's kind of whole history and how he is. Where everyone else sees him as like a firecracker that kind of goes off every now and again. He realizes it's building, and he's starting to actually realize what's going on. Yep. And this is him talking to himself about calling himself an idiot, because he realized everybody has these things going on, these motivations that are beyond, and he should have the same drive.
He needs something. I think like this is exactly what All Might was hoping for when he kind of brought up that whole "I want you to announce I'm here." He needs that driving passion to rise to the top. He shouldn't be complacent just because he has this great power within him. He's already being tutored by the greatest of heroes. He still needs to make sure, and I think he even says, like, I hope you still have that drive you had on the beach, to just be the greatest hero. And so, yeah, he's kind of letting the history of what we've gotten so far define that within him.
Yeah. It was a good lesson to kind of think about it and just see him finally actually realize he has to be the one for all. He has to be the power that was given to him.
Yep. And there he is. I love that line. I mean, it's not like a profound line or anything like that, but it's profound for Deku, the character, because how he felt on that beach park, which is such a weird thing to call it, a beach park. Is it a beach or is it a park? Usually there's two sides. Doesn't matter. But it's bringing him back to that feeling right there. And I think we see that happen to Deku in this.
And then this is training montage. Yeah.
Love training montages. And it was great too when this kicks off, because I thought it was, like, in my memory, I'm trying to remember. I usually start when I rewatch this section with the next episode, usually like the action of the sports festival. I forgot that it's a montage of everybody. I thought it was just a montage of Deku, but we actually get a little bit of everybody.
Yeah. And they're all practicing in different ways. Hers was so cool, but it's like hard to get in one shot because she had like the fish swimming around and she's catching it and jumps out. It's really cool. This was making me laugh.
That's crazy. It's a good way to show how strong he is, because I mean, he's super strong because he can lift 6 times the amount of like a normal person.
This one was awesome. So she like levitated a bunch of rocks for them to do for target practice. So she gets her, and then Mina can get her target practice in, and then she hits a couple of them just in time for one more to get taken out by
Aoyama
and then Sparkle.
This is the one time I think in this 3 episode set that he actually gets to shine or sparkle.
Oh, they get to head.
Yep. And then you got to bring him back down to an even playing field.
Yeah, poor guy.
He's just becoming one with the animals.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's not trading at all. That's okay.
That is, I mean, that's him trading his power. He talks to animals.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing. So
not
he's
very feisty animals.
He's a pacifist, so it's kind of tough.
And then this guy just screaming scares all the animals off, which made me laugh.
I like that they buddy up. I mean, we don't really get to see them much, but they're always in the background kind of being together. This made me laugh because dude is just throwing himself off of buildings. That's how he's training, and it's great.
Just to see if he could still hit the ground and survive, basically. It's like crazy.
But can you imagine, like, that's his, like, because the very first time he did it, it is like am I gonna die or not? Like,
speaking of manly,
yep,
like hits and then
jumps right up.
So good. I didn't catch the boom where he blew up a forest for training. I can't even imagine. They need to get him a little area.
Yeah. I want to say, because they're all wearing the UA outfits, these are all on UA grounds. So they're like meant to be, they might not be real trees kind of thing. Who knows?
This is for a reason. I would like you show the next one that's coming up. It's like him doing his thing, trying to train. Oh, I didn't get in there. Maybe it's the next one. Yes.
Oh, yeah. She was great because she's freaking throwing darts with her earphone jacks, and they're all nailing the target.
I thought she had CDs for a little bit. I was like, oh, that's neat.
I did too. I forgot that they were darts. Also, how many Mount Lady statues and posters does this boy have?
Just as many as Deku has of All Might, I'm assuming.
Very accurate. Good statement there. I think that's absolutely correct. Although that is Midnight.
Behind him, yeah.
Yeah. Studying. Shoto has like his own private dojo to train in, of course.
Yeah, and he has like his own little regiment. I was like, this is like actual hero status, like sitting there.
Eva says that Mineta doesn't have enough Mount Lady stuff because Mount Lady rules.
She does.
And James is saying jumping off the building as training reminds me of Professor X and Magneto in first class as challenges.
It's not a challenge. You can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I have part of the chat being cut off where my window was, so I got to fix that. This is the reporters outside the gate, right?
Yeah, they're getting ready to do it. And so they're talking about how people are criticizing it because it takes a long time to get into the building because they have to do a bunch of bag checks and everything. And then this reporter, she's just like super stoked because it means ratings because of criticisms. And then they're all talking about how Class 1A is the ones to watch instead of the third years that have been working their tails off for the last chance to become pros.
Yeah.
The first years.
Which is funny because we will meet third years a little bit later on in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you would think that you'd get them here. This is where everybody's kind of competing, but we don't get to see them at all because, the first years, thanks to what happened at USJ, are the stars of this show. So it seems to be what's televised because we'll see the TVs happening outside and they're all watching the first years. No one's watching the third years, the poor third years. So,
it's funny that they separate second and third are probably they must have their own stages and everything. Must be big domes.
I think those stages just happen to be more closer together elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love all this stuff.
We'll start talking about Endeavor's son and everything going on.
And here we have Mount Lady being Mount Lady.
Yeah, I didn't get the one where she basically flirts with them to get free food.
Oh, but I don't have any money in this outfit. Pretty much, yeah.
And then you learn that these pros are out there doing security because they needed people to watch the kids, so in case any villains come, and they're instead of scouting, what they were hoping to do.
I'm so jealous of the food stalls. I just want that. I'm hungry. I'm very hungry right now. So seeing all this food is just like, man, I want that. I want soba noodles. I want takoyami. I want all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is because they don't know what the actual events are, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this goes back to again with the closed eyes. I think his eyes are just closed all the time. I'm just going to say that.
I don't think they usually are, closed at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then when Todoroki comes back in and starts talking to him, and he's like, "What do you want?" And basically goes through that he, looking at things objectively, I think I'm stronger than you. So there's something going through his mind and going through Deku's like, "Why do you need to point this out to me?"
Yeah.
And it's basically Todoroki's point to Deku's like, I'm going to have my eye on you because I want to beat you because I need to be number one, just like everybody else. And he thinks Midoriya is his best competition.
Well, because we saw in previous episodes, like when people kind of talked about Midoriya's connection with All Might a little bit, like he was like listening in, right? Mm-hmm. And so he knows that All Might has, and so the number one hero having an eye on somebody, of course you think that they're going to be your top competition.
Mm-hmm. You kind of learn about a little bit how Todoroki thinks in these episodes too, because you don't really kind of see too much of him in the first season.
Yeah, we get a lot of this is Sports Festival is a lot of Todoroki, which is great because they'll start to foreshadow a little bit of his relationship with his dad and stuff like that too. So it's good.
I like how Kirishima always tries to stop everybody from fighting.
He wants camaraderie.
Yeah. And I like Midoriya stands up for himself. He decides that he might be weaker now, but he's not going to stop him from doing what he needs to do.
Yep. He does admit, though. He's like, yes, you are better than me. Yes, you are stronger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's more capable than most.
Oh, I didn't put the part in there where Kirishima was like, don't talk so negatively about yourself. But he's like, flashbacks again, or he knows that he wants to do it and he wants to be, he's like, I'm going to give it everything I have to, which kind of sets off the other third person in the room because he also wants to compete with Todoroki because he sees him as his ultimate competition.
Yep. Yeah, he's not willing to admit that Deku is his competition yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that comes so much later, but yeah, he sees Shoto as the one, and he's upset, I think, at this moment that Shoto is outwardly challenging Deku and not him. He should be what people view as the one to beat.
Yeah. And then President Mike's greeting. He's just adorable in this whole entire thing.
Pay attention, audience.
Yeah, he calls them mass media, or I was like, what is going on? He's not like the media. And then he starts dancing around, about to begin. Everybody, are you ready? And then poor, she's ready.
Oh, she's ready to watch her son get horribly, horribly injured.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's lots of intro wording.
Yeah, this is just his big, glorious intro for us. Basically talking about how, yeah, you've heard in the news, they went up against some villains, so we all know that's what you're here to see.
Yeah. And I like how Midoriya is scared because there's a lot of people, but everybody else is like, well, if there's a lot of people, we got to do a better job because that's the hero mentality, so it's nice. And then Bakugo with his creepy face saying he's getting more into it because of all the people cheering.
Yep. James is saying, I love his mom, Deku's mom. Yeah, we get some great cutaways to Deku's mom throughout this 3-episode arc.
And then they introduce the other classes. So Hero Class 1B and some interesting characters.
General Studies.
CD&E. Sport courses.
I'm going to guess the business course is a part of General Studies.
I think it must be. I don't know what General Studies would do beyond having like marketing or accounting or something.
I would have thought the support group was a part of General Studies as well, but I guess that's its own separate wing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Midnight.
I like how she's the R-rated hero, which makes me laugh because I'm like, that's not a quirk power, but it's okay.
Well, I think because part of her thing is she has to get naked to reveal her skin to use her power. So they're like, oh God, she's the R-rated hero because she's always going to be naked or something like that.
Yeah.
I do love that it's Karishma saying that.
He's like, I don't really know if this is okay. And then he's like, is it okay for her to be up to high school even though she's R-rated? And of course, the only person to like super agree.
Like, yes.
Yes. Super okay that she's here.
Eva gave us a closing eyes emoji, and that she's completely agreeing with Mineta here right now, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh God! They have somebody has to come up there and represent the class, and they picked Bakugo. I was laughing. I forgot about this.
And it wasn't even them that picked it. It was because he got the best score, going into the first year. So, of course, he's like their spokesperson, even though everyone in the class is like, he's the worst person to bring up there.
Yeah.
But honestly, bottom.
They should. Oh God! And all of them know it too. That's the worst part. It's like no one in that class is like, oh, this is a good person to speak on behalf of all of us.
But he ends up, putting the fire under them pretty much with his speech, and as they explain why, it's up there.
Just straight up. But
you gotta appreciate his honesty. Just put it all out there.
Yeah. He's not shy at all about any of it. And he's very, he's not yelling it. He just states it completely calmly and Bakugo neutral. But it makes everybody else neutral.
I love that, though, because you would think that he would be yelling it, or throw the you damn extras because everybody else is damn, or throw him under the bus.
Dan changed his icon.
Dan changed his icon? Oh, maybe. I think your chat's ahead of mine.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll get it.
Oh, there he is. Very nice. Very nice.
I love the booze, though. Even though it's funny all around, but I like that they actually worded it and made it all, gross.
I'm wondering, because usually even the speech balloons and everything like that, we have the one character who speaks in speech balloons. I think we saw him for a second. Oh, no, we'll see him in this episode stretch. Those are all in kanji. But we're actually getting the booze in English, so I'm wondering if that just also in Japanese they just do the booze in English.
Christy entered with "I am here," which makes
me
happy.
Finally.
Yes.
Welcome, Christy. Welcome, Dan. Welcome back from the cabin in the woods that honestly you guys should have moved to because it looks amazing.
It did. Yes.
I like that.
Very honest. Oh, so good. The thumbs down.
Such a conceited bastard. It's amazing.
Someone has to be.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
This Tetsu.
Oh, and then Ida again with his just like doesn't know how to express himself unless there's arm movements involved.
Just waving them wildly.
This is like Deku being like, "You did that on purpose. Like, there's something going on there." And like the look he does after this, where he's just like, "God dang, come on."
Yep. Because he doesn't even Bakugo doesn't return a glance, doesn't look over at him at all. Keeps his eyes on the ground. Just moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my favorite scene of Ida in the background just wagging, because like this whole thing is Midoriya talking, and it's just Ida going,
yeah,
wagging around like crazy the whole time.
He's so bad. We get to get started for the first tournament because I think there's 3 of them, right? Or is it just 2 preliminaries in the actual tournament?
It is 2 preliminaries and then the actual tournament. Yeah. So it is 3 parts, but yeah. And it does seem like they don't know. Even the teacher doesn't know. The people hosting this event doesn't know what the first event is going to be. They do seem to know what the second one is, but they didn't know what the first one was because it seems like they spin a wheel pretty much.
Yeah.
And
it's an obstacle race.
You get the specifics.
Yeah. This part made me, I was like, all the classes are going to participate in this. And like some of them, I don't remember if they all had quirks or not, but if you get into UA, I think you have to have a quirk. But still, it's like, oh my God.
Well, I think you could be quirkless and get in because I think that's what Deku says in the very first like 2 episodes or something like that. Because like, he wanted to go to UA, and they're like, "Do they even let anybody in?" And like, yeah, they started letting people in, or they made that rule that you don't have to have a quirk, but they never accepted anybody without a quirk up to that point. So we don't know if anyone in this first year has gotten in without a quirk, but it's probably safe to assume that everybody has one.
Yeah. This part made me laugh because like, okay, you guys can just beat each other up on the whole entire path as long as you keep moving forward.
Yep.
And then they just start, and it's just like this corridor tunnel. And it reminds me of like zombies, like in Walking Dead, where they just funnel through, and you're just like, oh no, what are you gonna do?
It totally was a funnel through a very small space. It's like it's horrifying. I would hate to be in there and just be smushed. Kind of reminds me of Comic-Con, actually.
I just liked it because he called him Mummy Man. This is what.
And he's like, "You're the one who forced me to come," because he does not want to be there.
No, he could be sleeping. And then it just starts off, and Todoroki just shoots ice through the tunnel, which I was like, how do you not freeze every single person that was in there?
Well, he attempted to freeze their feet, at least.
Yeah.
Yep. We have a lot of people just kind of stuck. But...
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to talk about Fall Guys in the chat.
Yeah. No, this was adorable because like there's certain people that actually got out faster, and I was surprised that Oyama was one of them because the other ones were people that I assumed were going to get through, and this was cool. She's literally making a poll as she's going on to get away.
Yeah.
Interesting. But it was the 4 of them that made it through first, besides Todoroki.
And I'm kind of shocked that Kirishima was one of them because, I don't see him as a big mobile person. He's more of like a walking tank kind of character. But he busted out. He had some good standout moments in the obstacle course in general.
It was like I was expecting there would be a lot more of them flying around. Like Froppy would have been one I would have thought would have just like jumped up the top and like ran around the roof.
Yep. Or like Mina because she can melt the ice super quick.
Yeah, she can slide and stuff.
Yep.
And so it was interesting to see that was those 4, and Bakugo getting angrier and angrier.
He's so pissed off at Shoto in this whole set.
Yep. And he got out, and like all the 1A people seemed to be moving forward as fast as they could. Even her, you were right, melting the ice, trying to get through it. She was slipping a lot.
His mobility, by the way, was great.
Yeah.
Like you get to see him kind of bounce from. He throws a bunch of orbs in the ground, and he bounces from his little balls to balls and kind of like keeps going.
Oh my gosh.
And then he gets completely slammed out of the way. And this is the part that your son was like laughing hysterically.
Yeah, like I was watching this, he was yelling at me for taking screenshots because it wasn't moving. So like I just like let him watch it. And as soon as he gets hit out of the way, Raylan's like, "What happened to that little girl? He just got smacked." I was just like, "It's that little girl."
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Always like, he has like those great moments of just falling.
He's got some good facial expressions. And he's like spinning for some reason. I was like, what is going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Midoriya's like, oh no. And then he recognizes them from the faux villains from the entrance exam, which I forgot that Momo and Todoroki have no idea what that even is because they never took it until this part in time. And yeah.
But also, you got to also admit, like, imagine that if you weren't going for the hero course, so if you were just coming in for the support course or something like that, you haven't seen these either. So there's a good, I would probably say 80% of this crowd has never seen these robots before.
Yeah.
And yet, we still, this scene is animated so beautifully. It is just like they went beyond for like this whole set of episodes, but this one scene specifically kind of blew me away.
I didn't know where to like stop and take a screenshot because there was so much going on with just the way he was using his powers and moving through and like the movement in his hair and the ice breath and everything going off. It was crazy. So good. And then President Mike is just like going on about how great he is. And I love that Aizawa was like perfectly calm and be like, well, that's to be expected.
Yep. And also, he wants to be like, you should wait and see what everybody else does too.
Exactly.
You know. I love his mom is like, run away.
Yeah, it was just what he's gonna do.
Yep. But he also knows that, you know, he needs to get past these robots and not be completely incapacitated like he was the first time he went up against these robots. Oh, okay. So that's the end of the episode 15.
Yes.
Which was in their own quirky. Oh no, the Roaring Sports Festival. The next one is in their own quirky way. Yeah. So, did you have a favorite moment of this first episode?
I think it was just Bakugo's pledge. That's gonna be my moment there.
Yeah.
He's pretty like I was expecting him to scream because that's just the way he is, and then I remember watching this and being like, oh, maybe there's a little bit something there.
It's a good moment.
Yeah. How about you?
You know, he's kind of a big dick during that moment, but you know, it's kind of sums up his character a little bit too. Favorite moment from that episode? I don't know. It's kind of tough because like I kind of want to say when Shoto challenges Deku because you know he kind of sees him as a rival, but it's also like the beautiful animation of Shoto doing the big flash freeze that he does to freeze that giant robot like first off the bat. That might be because like that's before that moment. I thought he was a cool looking character. Clearly had ice powers. Iceman is one of my favorite X-Men kind of thing. So it's like I kind of liked him, but when he did that and like seeing how they were going to animate it, that just was like, oh my god, this character. Like I love Shoto from that moment on, and he's still like in my top like 4 or 5 characters. I think actually he's in my top 3, and I don't know like where he falls in that set, but I love that moment. I think I'm going to go with that moment. Dan says that Bakugo's speech was hilarious and probably his favorite moment too. So, and James said it feels like the show really started here in his opinion. I agree. Like this is the kickoff. Like this is the point where I know most people, if they're not into it at this point, probably have tuned out, but I kind of hope that they would get to this point to kind of watch because this is pretty much the pace that we're going to get from this point till well into the future.
Yeah.
Things really kind of keep going. But I would also argue that the USJ, when the villains first show up to USJ, that's like a big kind of kickoff moment for the series too. So
there's a lot of characters in this show, like a lot of people, and we're just going to keep getting more and more and more. So it's nice to finally be able to see the characters we already know do some really, really cool things. So I think it is a good moment in the arc. Anybody
else in the chat have a favorite moment from this past episode that we didn't discuss or agree with? You know, the speech being the moment. Or was it Mineta really? I think that's Eva's moment when Mineta like gives a thumbs up to Midnight's outfit choice. So go with that. Christy says, I just want to put out there that I feel Tom could continue to grow his hair. Cosplay Mr. SL. All right, we'll see. It's possible. My hair's already, when it's down, it's about here. That's where it is.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, all right, so let's get right into episode 16, which is In Their Own Quirky Ways.
Yeah, it's an awesome title for it, too.
I love, it's such a good way to kind of like roll off, their whole like quirks being powers, and it's great.
Fun. There's lots of thumbs up in this, which is enjoyable for like everything going on. But he was very excited that it was an obstacle course race, but I think that he'd be excited if it was anything. So it worked out pretty well. And this is kind of like the recap part of it, where they're going over how Todoroki's in the lead. They have all these big robot villains to kind of deal with. And then I believe
we also start, like before the even title screen, we get a recap of them showing Shoto challenging Deku again. So we know that that's going to be this ongoing theme for this set, pretty much.
Oh, this is the part where Shoto froze it, and they all thought they were going to be able to run through, and he's like, "Don't! They're unbalanced. They're going to fall." And then they realize that someone's trapped underneath the fallen ice part, and I was like. It made me laugh because these other people obviously have never been into some of these courses, because like people are going to die at the sports festival. I'm like,
I mean, it's a good assumption, because if it were anyone other than who it ends up being, they might have died, but instead it's Kirishima and with a great "like I die."
Yeah. And then this part right afterwards where he gets like angry, he's like, Todoroki, if it was anybody else, like they would have died. Like seriously, like you're lucky it was me. And he said, that bastard. And it made me laugh because it's a very Bakugo line too.
Yep. And we got his splash screen.
Mm-hmm.
Kirishima is one of my 3 top characters on this show. So just thought I'd throw that out there. I love Kirishima. But we get Tetsu.
Yeah.
Also busting out.
I like that they use like basically the same lines.
Yeah.
And then we get his screen too, which is like where I saw that his name is the same twice.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's great that, Kirishima is like, are we having a hard enough time standing out? And now this is this guy with the exact same powers as me, pretty much.
He's just not having a good day. And then Bakugo, because they're talking about how they need to clear everything out of the way, work together, and teamwork. And Bakugo's like, hell no, that's not going to happen. And he just like takes off up top, like with his little fire going on. And then I believe 2 other characters, yes.
Seattle.
Yep, Sero, who is in my top 3. So,
which is crazy because we don't get much Sero at all in this whole series.
I think it's so neat that they made a character that just has tape coming out of his elbows. Of all things, it could have been his hands, it could have been anywhere else, but
it's his elbows, and it's like they already made the toy pretty much. They're like, hey, look, he has a big like rotating joint right here, so you can easily make toys, and you can even have like tape coming out or something.
That's so great. And they have his screen too for like the half and half, I think, in this. But him and I can't remember his name. I just want to call him Dark Shadow all the time.
Tokiyami. Yeah.
Yeah. They were thankful that Bakugo leading them over the top, so they kind of took off together.
Yeah.
And this part, which I was super excited about, which is Deku fighting the robots without powers, just picking up pieces and timing it right for when they would go to miss, and then just taking off a piece of it. It awesome.
I love whenever they show Deku using just his wits, pretty much, like they cut to like his feet to kind of show he knows how to place his feet in the proper way to get him enough like leverage in a swipe or something like that to, take down a robot. Yeah. But it's great that we're actually getting to see him fight up against these robots that in the first season, he basically froze and would run the other direction when he came in contact with them. So it's amazing. We get to see this growth already with this characters. And Dan says one of Deku's most badass moments of the show, and I agree. It's really cool. seeing Momo also, like, I think we see Deku take the head off, and all of a sudden a bunch of robots just blow up, right? Like all of the rest of them just blow up. And we come up on this cannon that Momo has created to just blow everybody up. She looks like such a boss.
Yeah, she's amazing. Just like the sparkle a little bit on her. It's just interesting that they have like all the characters have something to give in these next couple episodes. So this is Deku remembering that he needs to step up and do this thing and for All Might, and he's trying to figure out how to stand out and move on to the next part. And this is the next. There's 3 parts of this. This is where I got 3 from, because they had the 3 parts of the obstacle course.
Yes.
And this to me is just mean for kids. Like, it's a cliff, and like, hey, there's a bunch of ropes. You guys can just crawl or just do whatever you need to do to get across. But I was wondering if anybody actually fell, because this is crazy.
I would love to have seen it, because I would be freaking terrified. Like, I'm not terribly afraid of heights, but I'm terrified enough to not want to do this. Granted, I have no superpowers, so I just want to put that out there. I haven't been blessed with a quirk or anything like that, even though, come on, I pray for it every night. But it hasn't happened. So, yeah, I would love to see, like, the kids that didn't make it through the obstacle course, through all aspects, like, did a robot, like, smash one kid or something like that, too. I would love to see, like, the outtakes from this.
Mm-hmm. And then they have a couple people, because I think Ochako and Mina are, like, waiting to see what's going to happen and, like, kind of figure out how they're going to do anything. And Froppy just jumps off, like, does her thing. So it was cool to see that they're like, oh, she's fast and moving forward.
I would, it's funny too, because like it was weird that Ochako was one of the characters just kind of standing on the edge of the cliff, because you'd think with 0 gravity, she would get a running start, give herself 0 gravity, and just kind of like float across and then try to land on one of the platforms, do the same thing. But no, she took it safe. Hatsumi. Get to meet Hatsumi for the first time.
Yeah.
She was as loud and boisterous as she will be throughout the rest of her tenure on this program.
She's an amazing side character. Let's put it that way. Like, if you ever needed something she reminds me of from Attack on Titan, the Sanji, I think her name is, or the one that's crazy that's like experimenting on the Titans and creating everything.
Totally reminds me of that character, for sure. But she's like, she also creates one of my favorite support items for Deku, like later on. Like, she ends up becoming like a very important like side character in a sense too. So it's really cool.
I like it because like I think that she does have a quirk. I can't remember if they ever explain it, but
they do.
Yeah,
they explain it actually. I think in the next set of 3 episodes that we'll get to, because there's a moment I don't want to talk about it yet. Even though I know no one that watches this hasn't seen this yet. I'm still trying my best not to spoil stuff, but yes, her quirk
her whole essence too is she's very steampunk and very cool and very like just awesome. So I have some, but this made me laugh because it's like very Deku muttering, like the way she laughs and everything. To have her own interesting little point.
We have Dan talking in the chat about how Ochako's powers would be a little difficult because, with nothing around her, she can only float and not really propel herself. Think the movie Gravity, nothing to grasp onto or jump off to catch herself. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, she would run, jump, and then as she's jumping kind of thing, give herself 0G, so it kind of like carries her. Because we see her do that in the long jump section in the in season 1. So she has used it in that way before. So like cross big gaps and chasms, like she can do a long jump, so she has enough control over it. We've seen it, but yeah, it's maybe a little bit more difficult. She has to, I think she just has to come over the fear of what is in front of her. Is really that moment that we're seeing.
I mean, if she messes up, she's gonna go splat. So it's kind of like a little scary for her. I think you get some more kind of ideas on what's going on. Because when I first saw Hatsumi, I thought that she just had some kind of crazy mech power or something was going on. Like her outfit needed like added to it. And then I realized that she had like everything on that she could ever like suit up with. And they told her like, that's kind of unfair that you get all these gadgets. And they're like, we're allowed to equip items and costumes. as long as they designed them themselves.
Yes.
And it just shows you how like awesome she is.
Which is great too, because when we do like know what her quirk is, you're like, yeah, that quirk. I mean, it does not tie into her creating stuff at all. Like, it's not one that allows her to like. She's not Forge from the X-Men where she can make anything out of anything. She, so it's interesting how she has that quirk, but instead she's like, no, I'm also a mechanic and somewhat scientist. Like I can. She's an engineer, I guess is probably, but that's a mechanic and a scientist together as an engineer. So she's like a genius engineer. So like she can make all this kind of crazy stuff, and that's just her as a human being, pretty much. Like it's cool seeing the humanity of some of these characters kind of propel them forward in their curriculum. I'm not even going to try saying that word. I can't. That's the one.
It's a lot like Deku and his actual experience in being a strategist and everything else coming into play on how he's going to do his thing. The quirk is just a secondary natural thing, but it's kind of like, well, for his case, it's not natural, but it's still something that's going to be part of him later on. So.
Yep, agreed. I think that's when we see him say at the beginning of every episode, "This is the story how I became the greatest hero now," and I feel like that is one of the reasons why. It's because he has an analytical mind, and because of how smart he is, and because he watches everything and pulls that into what he does. But yeah, Christy says that she would love a Nendo of Hatsumi, and I think that'd be really cool.
She'd be perfect with the big old glasses and everything.
I would definitely, if they do, she needs a faceplate where she's like all dirty, because when we see her later in the series, she's always working on something and she's always covered in grease.
Yeah.
So then we just see her use her tools. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster through this because we spent a lot of time talking about other stuff for a second.
Yeah, sorry, I was just kind of flying through it.
That's such a good shot too.
It's just so cool.
I love those boots. Those boots are just awesome looking. It's like hover boots that she has.
They're like, that's a misplaced equality with because her stuff is so cool. They're like, oh my god, she's gonna beat all of them now.
Hey, it's one of those things though. Like if her quirk was super intelligence or something like that, and she could make that stuff, it'd be kind of unfair if they didn't allow her to use that stuff against somebody who has like flight as a power or something, Does Uravity use propulsions at all? She could have controlled bursts or like Mentos or Coke, Mentos and Coke and something. That's really funny. She should have like the fans, we'll see her use in this 3-episode set. She uses Hasumi's boots. She should have that built into her hero gear. And I don't think she ever has, but she should, because that would be really cool. Just a great close-up of Shinso.
I think it's because he's coming up on everything going on, and just kind of like they introduce him for this. So,
but we don't get to see him do anything.
No, which is like ridiculous, but it's okay. And this is just more of them, and I like that they're kind of like narrating everything that's going on because that's what their job is. But at the same time, it like adds like that much color because Aizawa was very much still their teacher during this time, even though Present Mike is being Present Mike instead of listening. So it's
his hair
cool.
looks like such a cockatoo here too. It's incredible.
Yes.
I don't remember it being that tall. Like I know it's tall, but I don't think like that is half as tall as he is. So if he's 6 feet, that's an additional 3 feet on top of him. That is insane. He's not getting through doorways like that.
He's so cool. Oh, that's the other thing too. That Aizawa was mad that they had stopped and like were like and now like trying to figure out whether they're going to go forward or not, and like he's just angry.
Yep. I mean, he's their teacher, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I love seeing Shoto use like Ice Slide, like Iceman, pretty much. Like he has such great mobility. He is the OP character from this series. Like nobody else, I think, is as OP as like someone who has Iceman's powers and flame powers. Even Pyro from the X-Men has to use flames that already exist. He can create his own, so it's like he's just insane. Love it. Flying in.
I like how he knows that Bakugo is behind him too. He's like, oh, a slow starter. Like he didn't get out the gate as fast as he did because he froze them in the beginning, and he knows Bakugo's mad about that too.
Yep.
So. He's pissed about it.
He's more pissed, I think, not even about that he's number one. He's pissed that he didn't challenge him, that he challenged Deku.
Oh, this part was just super cute. Where, because Ida's like, oh, my older brother's probably watching. I'm going to have to look super cool. And he does, like, the most uncool thing to get across.
And he gets called out on it, too.
Yeah. I can't wait to be... Jeez. And the face he makes.
I mean, you know what? Granted, his body positioning is not cool, but the fact that he flies across at, like, a ridiculous speed, not worrying about falling off, that's pretty cool. He looks uncool. I mean, President Mike gives him crap for looking uncool while he does it, but still. Is this the first time we learned that he's Endeavor's son?
They said that somebody was Endeavor's son. This is actually literally when they tell him that it's Todoroki. And they already gave him a hero name because he's going to be the... Oh, no, Flame Hero's Endeavor. That's what he said.
Yes.
Yes, in this. I was like, oh, that's...
No, his hero name. It's funny.
I love his face. Just like, you imagine being like quirkless or anything like that, and this is how people are getting across this crate, and he's carrying something that's probably pretty heavy too.
I was going to say, because that thing cuts through one of those robots, so it has to be ridiculously heavy, and I'm going to assume that's the wiring from the robots that he has tied around like that to kind of like keep it attached to him. So that thing's weighing him down, and he's just, oh my god, Deku, my hero.
Yeah. I could imagine being a mom and be like, what are you doing?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew I had notes for when Deku's mom came up, but it's not that moment. It's the next Deku's mom moment.
Which is just, it's cute. I like this artwork because President Mike was just like, we need to make these large and crazy. So,
but it doesn't even have an N in it. There's no, like, it doesn't say mines. It says danger mise.
Yeah. And this level, well, the third part of this challenge was so unique because usually you'll have a bunch of stuff like climbing over high heights or having to fight giant robots seemed cool, but like this part where there's like mines and they have to like think about how they're going to make their way across it with like
for some of them at least.
Yeah. Midoriya goes into how people can't jump as like normally would. Like everyone had to change the way they utilize their own quirks to try to get through it.
And even Shoto says that it's like they purposely put that as the third thing to kind of allow people to catch up to the first person, which you would think, this is me thinking, Shoto can create thick enough layer of ice that it wouldn't be a problem. But I guess then that would provide everybody else for a path to kind of like get across it. So that's why he didn't want to do it, even though he ends up creating an ice path for everybody after the fact. So, and yes, they go into how they're not going to kill them. They're not going to blow off legs and stuff like that.
No. It's going on about how he's going to make them wet their pants, though. And I was always like, oh, that's to be determined or something like that. I can't remember what he says exactly, but it's hilarious. This whole exchange, because he's so excited.
So animated. He's so animated. Yeah. Plus, you have to make you wet your pants.
And I think he's always like, that depends on the person.
Such a good cutaway.
Yeah.
This moment. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat. We're coming up on my moment of the episode.
It's amazing. I just like it as pink smoke too. I always thought that was kind of funny because it is supposed to be flashy, but I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I think that's a way of showing that it's not. If it were orange, you'd think it's like an actual explosion, like gunpowder, but it's not. It's like it must be somebody's quirk or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like how Bakugo goes like, "Screw you guys! That doesn't affect me at all. I'm just gonna fly past you." And even Shoto's like, "God dang it!"
Yep.
Oh, that's when he says it too.
Yep. That's when he declares it, and then they have this great battle going back and forth where they're like kind of like fighting side by side while trying to get across the mines.
Yeah.
Shoto freezes Bakugo's arm.
Yeah.
What a good shot. Good catch on this one.
Just he's trying to outrun the blasts, which is crazy.
Dan says, I wish there was an emoji for chills. There is one. There's a frozen emoji. Frozen face. There's a hot face and a frozen face. So there you go. Yeah, this is where
I just liked it because this is a point where you're like, oh, they're kind of equal on footing for fighting and everything that's going on, and you don't think that anyone else really has like on the same like level for fighting because Bakugo can explode things, he can freeze things. It's kind of like that kind of back and forth. And I remember watching this for the first time and be like, okay, these two characters are going to be out front and do everything, and then your moment happens, and then it's like, oh, yes, okay.
I will say, I expected Ida to catch up during this because his whole power set is super speed. So I was actually pretty disappointed in Ida myself by the end of this obstacle course that he didn't get further. Here we go, zero in on Deku in the back.
He's trying to see where he's at, and he's like, oh my gosh, where are they at? And they go to the other side, and he sees where the other two are at in the minefield, and they're so far away. He's like, how am I going to get from point A to point B and then still win to say, here I am for All Might, which is the whole thing that he's trying to do. And just like ingenious idea for when he comes up with is crazy. And then I like that he says that he's going to borrow it from Bachan because he's like, it has to do with explosions, right?
But like a way bigger one than Kachan has been using.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy. It's great that we get, this is before the mid-episode break, so we get like this move, and then we'll go back to kind of see how he ended up doing it. Because I kind of like how they did that, because it's just like, it's like, whoa. It allows you to kind of react in time the same way Bakugo and Shoto react, where they're like, what the hell? But then we'll learn how he does it. But it's this huge explosion, like massive. Even like Dark Shadow
is like his mouth open. He's like, oh no.
Everybody stops to look at this big ass explosion.
This is one of my favorite faces of Bakugo too. It's just like the eye, like the instant like irritation, but like, what the hell just happened?
I think he knows. He has like an inkling back there too that it's Deku. Like he's like, we haven't been annoyed by this guy yet, so. Yeah. And I love. She was the one to first see who it is. And it's like, it's great we get her reaction to it because she's always inspired by this crazy green-haired kid rocking it out of this cloud of smoke. What?
Yeah. And you could imagine, like, he's up there sitting with all the teachers, and they're like, why is All Might freaking out?
I think they would be freaking out, too, because, like, at this point, we haven't seen Midoriya use his powers at all. So it's like, what's this kid going to do? And then he uses just his intelligence again to kind of get another leg up.
It's crazy.
And, he's also proud of his boy.
Yeah. These two are just like, what the hell?
God, love that. When I, got chills. I had goosebumps when they zoom in on his face and he has this determined face on. It's like, I love it. This is my moment of the episode. Calling it now already. It's this. Know it. The end.
Oh, this is Midoriya recapping it in the next one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we get a little rewind a bit, so we kind of see everybody. Terrible.
Hey, it was smart.
It's very smart. Yep. Everybody's. I like how Jiro. Yeah, Jiro's actually like listening for the mines and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, she could probably send a pulse into the ground too and kind of set off a bunch, I'd imagine. But you have Deku just digging holes.
Yeah, they're like, I like how Jiro's the one who's like, what is he doing? Like, why are you back there digging a hole?
But he's making just a pile of mines.
And I think I missed it, but he goes through about how they're for the school, so they must be set up for when you step on them, not when you dig underneath of them. Like he goes through a thought process of how he's going to dig these up and place them. It's like crazy.
It's great. It's one of those things that they didn't need to add in, right? But in the story, but they did, and it's like fantastic.
Yeah.
They're talking about the motivation of Mineta. How he will learn how he gets through this part of the match, which is just fantastic.
I love he named it.
Super explosive speed turbo. You need to. He's such a nerd. I love him. And I also love the fact that he thought about flying, but he didn't think at all about the other side of it.
No, I didn't think about landing.
Yep.
And it's
But
like, how are you supposed to land when you're flying that fast and you don't know how to use your quirk? And he always.
I mean, he could he could have ruined a finger or something like that to kind of slow his momentum. But the way how he ends up doing it instead is so much cooler.
Oh yeah. Oh, and Bakugo was just like trying to catch up because he flew over the top of him, I believe.
Yep, both him and Shoto. Well, I think he's like above them, but as they keep going, they end up start going faster because like there'll be a moment where he's like, falling directly behind him. I'm sure you caught that actually.
Oh, that's when he decides he has to make the ice path now, even though even though it's going to give everybody else an advantage. He can't worry about it because he has to catch up with the other two.
Well, he didn't. He also didn't have to propel it behind him, but I guess he more means from that midpoint on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like how they always like italicize like the really sarcastic part.
Yep, they were formerly in the lead. I don't know.
And I didn't get him like turning. Like
this is when he is upside down, falling in between Shoto and Bakugo, who are racing ahead. So he's starting to like he had the lead for like a split second, and he starts to like lose it. But then he comes up with this ridiculous concept of whipping around.
And I don't know if he actually stands on them to try to get around, or he does this all in one swoop of motion because like this part, because it's crazy. That's a lot of like tummy muscle to like do that.
I mean, this kid has been like working out nonstop for a year at this point. Well, 10 months, but probably a little over 10 months. It was 10 months from the day of the exam. So I don't know how much further along we are past then. But he has crazy core muscles is really it. So I believe he could do this kind of crazy rotation in there.
It's just like, and then he slams it down, and I love the back, like their faces, because Bakugo looks like he got slapped, and then like Shoto's like, oh my god, and then he does like a roll, it's so cool, and takes off running again. There's no stopping the momentum, and I think
love it. You'd think that after that second propelling, like he would crash and burn and like be on the ground and writhing in pain, but he actually like does like a ninja roll out of it and just gets up and just cruises.
He's just like completely adrenaline filled. And I think I missed it. Oh, this is where they're talking about it. Eraserhead, your class is amazing, and like going off about it. And then him and All Might kind of have that point where they're like, they always just keep moving forward. They don't stop. There's no like really recognition of like, hey, we have to stop and worry about our own safety.
I think he even says it's because they had that interaction with the villains. It's like, once you had the villain in front of you, you realize there is not a moment for you to think in one of those situations. So they've had a brush with that. So it's already more second nature to them than anybody else. So it's easier for them to just kind of just go.
And they're getting each other riled up, which is a good thing on there, because especially the three in the front.
And as when he wins, we get some cutaways to different people. We get a great cutaway to the three in the teacher's lounge or whatever it is, the break room that they're in. They're talking about, because they even make mention of the fact like, hey, it's that kid that we were chastising last year for running in when he didn't have a quirk or something like that. And they're like, wow, he won this first tournament. So it's like the first time like he's turning heads. But unfortunately, he's turning the wrong head here with Tamura watching on. But he's turning the right head, and All Might is so proud of his boy for winning.
Yeah, and someone else is very proud.
Do you have that cutaway of his mom?
I think so. I hope so. I thought I did. Oh,
I was worried because this is what he was worried about, him not having the motivation, but clearly he found it. And All Might's like, I was worried for nothing.
Oh, they have the management people talking.
Which is great because they're like, clearly we can't market him based on look. Because, again, they like to talk about how plain looking he is.
Such weird hair. And this is the other thing, too, is like the school encompasses everything that has to do with heroics. So it's just like you need people that are going to be on your team to make you look cooler and market you. You're going to need people that are going to build you cool gear. If you need your quirk, you need some settings. Like I'm sure there's trainers and like things like that they need for all aspects of superheroing. Very cool.
And it's great that like they happen to be positioned directly under the teacher's lounge, so the teachers can hear how the business people are kind of reacting to the kids, so they kind of have like a sense of, you know, the marketing ideas, because marketers have their own ideas and stuff. I work with marketers, so I know. It's interesting to hear them talk sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's great that they're good positioning for the teachers. I love that they get their little splash screen.
I don't remember if we see him very often after this either.
I don't think we see him. I think we see him one more time.
Yeah. And I like the noise talk at the top. It's like I was like, oh, that added something to it.
Get your bentos here. My stomach just growled reading that. I'm like, I need a bento. Should have had like a snack or something like that before.
You'll figure it out. And poor Bakugo lost again. So.
Yep. Dan's like, I'm wondering the quirks of those business class guys. Steph and I were talking about that before the episode today, and we were wondering the exact same thing. Like, I really want to know what their quirks are.
Yeah.
James is calling that one dude the beehive. Yeah, he does have the beehive hair. It's amazing.
Very unique. They're going to go over all the results of everybody who finished, I think, in a little bit later and everything like that. And then this is just Todoroki looking at him because Deku's super proud of himself, which he should be. Oh.
And then while poor Ida is just like, but I have super speed. How did I lose? It's the obstacles, he wasn't ready for the obstacles, apparently.
No. And then Urika's like super excited. There's like a little cute moment between the two of them because she's like very, very, very proud of him too.
She's so great.
Yeah.
Ochako and Midoriya, I just love them together.
I think he gets all nervous and something. Yeah, a little blushy face.
Yeah. He always gets the blushy around Ochako. It's so cute. They're so cute.
And Ida's just pissed.
I know. He's steaming. He's fuming over there. Which will pull him into the next match, too. He'll still be fuming.
Mm-hmm.
But
and he realizes that he got lucky because he just picked up that piece of scrap metal to think if he could do something with it later on.
Yeah. If he didn't have that, he would have probably come in last.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least that's what it looked like. I love this. He's like, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. What's the first bird? Is it the fact that he got to touch Momo?
Yeah.
And I love her reaction. Just is like, you're the worst. It's great.
I like that he's beat up too, because she must have been smacking the crap out of him the entire way, trying to get him off, and you realize he cannot be removed.
Yep. It's so good. And with the sticky balls, like she can't get him off.
No.
Dan saying the ova warmed his heart, because when my favorite moment of the entire OVA was when they're floating in midair together, and it's just like, it's so cute that she saves Deku, but I don't want to go into that too much. Now take a look at these results. Why does she even wear that mask if she just takes it off?
I don't know.
And why does she have like handcuffs on? I need to know more. I
think they had to add something.
I guess.
Yeah. I like his is so plain too. His number 1.
Everybody's just kind of plain. I mean, Shonen just has an awesome scar, so.
Yeah. But like Bakugo's is not.
No, Bakugo was just pissed off. I mean,
yeah.
It's great. But again, as we were talking, they need to do a second Nendo of Bakugo so we could get this faceplate. I need like this face with this weird mouth thing that he does.
They need to have some more extreme faces.
Yep. She was good.
Yeah.
She will be good when she shows up. This guy, he has such a cool look. It does not go with his powers at all. I don't understand, but whatever. He wasn't even that far behind. Like, he should be pretty happy. He was in the top 10.
Oh, I like how he's number 7 too, because like we didn't even see him really besides his
reaction to
Deku.
Yeah, I want to know, because this is before he learns how to use Dark Shadow in a specific way that would enable him. I will say, this hasn't happened in the manga or anything because we're not even on year 2 or anything. But when they're second years, I am so excited for the sports festival. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait for year 2 Deku sports festival, year 2 Kirishima sport. Like, everybody grows so much in this 1 year. It is insane. And Tokoyami being one of them. Zero should have been further along too with his tape as mobility.
It's pretty good for him, especially.
Oh yeah, you know what? 8th is actually really good. What am I saying?
And like Kirishima and him were like way ahead of everybody else. So
I think because they could just run through everything without having to worry about anything. Like, oh, things can explode and they'll just get launched forward and not be hurt.
but like the cliff part, like how do they make it? Because they would drop. I mean,
Well, I can speak for Karishma at least, where I think he could jump and dig his claws because he can turn his hands into like sharp claws and kind of climb up. But that's not really going to help him too much, I guess. I don't know. Again, would love to have seen it, but we're going to go through the place of everybody here. Everybody's got their different places. We can see everybody. Momo's reaction is fantastic.
I know, it's amazing.
Just poor Jiro.
I mean, look at Denki, and then he's number 42, which made me sad with his little tummy ache, or his big tummy. To say.
They allowed 42 people to progress, so he made it in the nick of time, not the nick of time, but he was the right number, I guess.
But how much did he use that belly button laser to give himself a tummy ache? Probably the entire time.
Oh yeah, and he's tummy aches, I think, for the next couple scenes that we see him in too.
Yeah.
Which we learned the next battle is going to be the cavalry battle.
It kind of goes. And they're all wondering how a team event's going to work for everything going on.
It's a weird event.
Yeah.
I don't quite get it.
I think cavalry stuff in Japan is actually a major thing because it happens a lot in anime and manga.
I I got to talk about for a second your room for a second, how there's clearly a spotlight, but it is behind you and on a door.
No, it's going to be too bright on my face.
Why not aim it at the desk in front of you or something like that?
Maybe. Nope.
Well, there you go. That's perfect. There you go. It's just so I was like, there's a great spotlight on that background.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah.
Them using All Might and all of these graphics were my favorite.
I like 13 shoes.
We talked about those yellow boots
previously. And there's 4 of them, and I was trying to figure out who the 4th person was because you don't see it, but you can barely see the top of his cowboy hat and the side.
Oh, is he there? I don't even see him.
The shooter guy.
Oh, I see
side.
I see a spur. So yeah, there you go.
And Midnight explaining things is super good. I didn't get any of the mouth lick things that she was doing, which is making me laugh. Her weird. She finds it delicious when she's talking about this kind of stuff, which is very bizarre. Each person is assigned a point value. I didn't get this point system either. It's supposed to go up by 5, and then from 2 to 1, it went up exponentially.
I think it's basically to be the person who got last, just number 1 is at a total disadvantage. We're throwing this one wild card out there of a point total.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's insane. James is asking, All Might in that suit figure when? I know. I just don't want it to be a McFarlane.
No.
Because it's still horrifying. Although, I mean, I could put a Van Presto head on it and it'll look fine.
There you go. I like how Mina and Ochako are explaining everything in this episode, even though Midnight's supposed to be explaining it, and she gets really mad at them because she's like, are you even going to listen to me, or are you just going to talk about it yourselves and make up your own thing?
It's so good. And I want to know who the heck that kid is in the back right, because he looks like a kid from another anime.
Yeah.
He looks like a main character from another anime, but he's just back there. We'll never see him again.
Nope. And it's supposed to the sign go up by 5, starting at the bottom. So she's like, and then the number 1 is 10 million points.
Yep. What a great look, too.
Yeah.
Deku has in this set, actually from this episode and next episode, the best, most shirtable looks. Give me a 5-pack of t-shirts of just Deku looks. This being one, and then there's going to be a couple more coming up that are just incredible. Shinso, 10 million, huh? Love it.
He's very odd, but he's his perfect smirk face.
Hatsumi.
I like how she, like, later on you find out that she's thinking about it in an opposite way that everybody else is, because that part made it look like it was going to be like a bad thing. So they're all
Oh, I know. I know. Her motivations throughout the whole sports festival are so good because they are very much, she has her vision, she has exactly what she wants, and she announces it when the very first time she dives off that like cliff and be like, "Are you watching Big Companies?" Like she's focused on one thing and one thing only. It's great.
This would made me laugh. It was like, oh, we have to just take his points.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's like a midnight screen.
Yeah.
That's right. Survival of the fittest. Yep. Poor Deku. Basically putting a bounty on his head.
Yeah.
I think this is the start, right? The next episode? Yeah.
I didn't get her crying screen. That makes me sad.
Who's crying?
The mom, when she was excited when he won.
That's okay. What's your favorite moment from this episode?
It's going to be the same moment that you like. Like, that was a big surprise because they're going through everything so fast. And I think even him, like, rocketing over was, like, okay, but the actual, like, flip, like, he continued the momentum in the process was so much cooler because it's like he went from being frozen and not committing to anything to just, like, full out, like, I'm just going to basically destroy myself or win. It's crazy. You
kind of have to, when you're talking about that moment, it really is the entirety of Deku's minefield experience, right? It's him digging that hole. Like, it's the whole thought process of how he's going to get around it. It's the digging the hole, getting the thing, exploding over in midair. Because it probably took like place over the course of like 3 seconds, at least from the explosion part to the end. But it's everything about it is just, it was so cool. Mm-hmm. I want to know, I have a feeling I know what some of the people in chat's favorite moments are, but I definitely want to hear them. I want to know, what Dan's favorite moment is. Christy, James, Eva, Christian, all you guys, let us know. We'll stop talking in the middle of the next episode to kind of cover them as we catch up in chat because they're not there yet. But let's keep going because we're already an hour and 15 minutes in, and we have a big episode left to go.
The cavalry battle.
Yep.
And so I think these are just recaps for when Deku still remember, like, he's like, oh god, all these people want to basically hurt me. This was a good animation for him, like kind of panicking and feeling that pressure and that way that All Might feels because the spotlight's on him at all times. And like I like that he finally realizes that All Might's great, but he has to be great because everybody's looking at him knowing that he's All Might, and then how that feels and how heavy the burden is to be the best and be number one. I thought it was a good analogy.
I feel like also at this time they're talking about how part of half the reason why his heart is beating so fast is when everybody's kind of looking down on him right now. It reminds him of when he was quirkless and everybody in school looked down on him. Like he has that same, like there are triggers throughout all of our lives that remind us of the bad times and stuff like that. Yeah. So that moment is triggering to him where he's just like, oh my God, he's like, I have this pressure to perform at the same time that I was finally starting to feel confident amongst my peers, but my peers are looking down on me because I am now this like person in their crosshairs for them to just jump over pretty much. So it's scary for him. And Dan in the chat is talking about how like his favorite moment is the landmine belly flop. It was, again, just his most badass moment in the series. Really good Deku episode. So, yes, totally great. And this is that quirkless moment. It's just like, he's even wearing his, like, schoolboy outfit of the all black. I think it's like, that is a preschool in Japan de facto outfit, I think. Because every anime I've ever seen where they're showing kids in, like, preschool, they're wearing that black collar, high collar suit.
Yeah. I think it's just standard probably around how they want the uniforms to look, different colors, but the same kind of look.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how it's still Bakugo too. Like this is like a flashback, but like every time he sees something, it's always like not poor Bakugo. He did it to himself, but yeah.
It has to be Bakugo. Bakugo is like the major. Chrissy chimed in with her favorite moment. It's how President Mike makes fun of Aizawa and messes with him during the announcements.
Yeah.
Which is It's so good, and that's the gift that keeps on giving throughout the whole sports festival, because it is like every time we cut to that like commentator moment, where we have a moment in this episode where Aizawa is like literally asleep, and President Mike just yells next to him to wake him up. Pretty much, it's like it's good too. So
yeah. He's kind of recapping about how he got it based on luck, which he thinks is luck. I think it's just that he understood what was going on and knew that he was going to need something else besides Stone Quark. And then I like how All Might's like understanding. He's like, hey, you do see things very quickly. You're understanding how this is going to work and how everything's going to move forward. And this is also being number one, the whole pressure.
I think that's what I read as the quick to understand. I think it was the quick to understand, like you understand that the pressure of trying to be the symbol of peace it's not just like, yay, I'm now saving the most people and whatnot. Like there is a crushing weight of pressure of everyone looking around you will always be looking around you like that, kind of looking down. Like look at the number 2 hero, the Endeavor, and the way how he looks at All Might, which we haven't seen yet on the show. But we will see it very soon. It's like it's a lot of this too.
Yeah.
So strategy. Episode 17.
He's got to win this cavalry battle.
Yep. And it's all about strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We get a recap of the rules, pretty much.
Yeah. They have 15 minutes to make teams. They can do 2 to 4 people, I believe, is the max.
Yes.
So she kind of goes on about how each team is worth a total of everybody's points, since there's all 42 of them have points.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever is the number 1 rider will be wearing the bandanas.
I totally forgot that they were Velcro. It's so smart.
It's made to be taken off easily. And so they're kind of talking about it, and it's like there's 42 of them, so there's obviously going to be a lot of teams, which is going to be difficult. This is Aizawa moment here. Aizawa, or Oyama. Can't even talk right now.
Where did he pop up from?
Yeah. Just to say that's tough because there's a bunch of teams. So they're going on about how you can still move around even without the bandanas. So they're like thinking that, hey, if you just get your points stolen, you're free to move around and kind of get things going without having to worry about guarding.
Yeah.
And then Froppy's like, it's hard to say until you see how the points are split up, because somebody could have the same amount of points as another person and see what's going on.
It's interesting. Like, it's a hard thing to kind of grasp.
Mm-hmm. And I like how Midnight's like, there's a red card for people attacking people on purpose. And then
Cougar gets pissed at that.
Yeah, he's like, damn it. Because that would have been his thing. He was like, took them out as they were going around. So to be strategic with it.
They get 15 minutes to make your team.
Yep. And being that it is Midoriya, he's like, okay, I have people in mind that I want to have on my team because this will be the easiest strategy for how to protect his point.
This was great, I thought. This whole breakdown, they're talking about how each aspect of the sports festival is pretty much an aspect of being a pro hero, which I really liked.
Yeah, it's like it's a different type of seeing if they're ready, but more like, hey, we're going to throw you into these scenarios and see what you do with it.
Yeah. Cool. James says, I feel like they're talking to the audience hard. Yeah, me too. Well, I mean, I feel like they have to. For those of us who don't know cavalry battles or anything like that, or especially cavalry battles with quirks and how they're going to do this weird headband thing, I'm glad that they spent all this time kind of covering all the details and all the strategies and whatnot, because I was like, I don't know what the hell's happening. I'll know when it starts actually happening, but I don't know what to expect. So it was good.
I like how they were talking about how they were like competing for interest and like basically having to show off. And she's like, besides getting grossed out by him smoking, she was like, doesn't it just pain your heart for having them have to compete? And then Kamui Woods just gets mad. You can even see him at the top of the train still like being pissed off that she stole a spotlight, which obviously she's going to get a pay raise for competing interest. It was just, yeah. And
there's a great, I was talking to Steph about this earlier before the show. There's a great sight gag here where you can kind of see it for a second, but Kamui Woods has this water bottle and he's trying to drink it with his mask down, and he just bops the front of his mask, and then they cut away, and you see him like in the distance lift his mask to drink the water. It's like, I don't know, it's a really cute little moment. I really enjoy it.
But and you talk about how even as rivals, they still work together, and how that kind of dynamic happens for different heroes, and how the cavalry battle kind of showcases that part.
It really does. Like, we'll see that kind of play out too.
And then everybody wants to be on Bakugo's team, which I think is a first for them during this time.
He's strong. I mean, he's got one of the best quirks, you know.
And I think All Might even explains that he has like an all-around quirk that would work for a cavalry battle with anybody else's quirks, and so.
Yep.
He's still got his tummy ache.
It kind of just looks like he has to go to the bathroom.
I guess if we didn't know, he'd get tummy aches from being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then Bakugo admits, he's like, I don't even know what quirks you guys have, and like goes off, and then they all get mad at him because they're like, we're in the same class as you. How do you not know what our quirks are? He's
conceited. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. He's like, I can understand not knowing Class B's, but yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Like,
he is never ridiculous. Yeah, they're going on about how his personality is kind of off, but he has like the medium amount of points, and he's also well-rounded.
Aoyama is always ridiculous, and that is his charm, Dan, and you know it.
Yeah.
This is All Might saying exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he goes, hey, Bakugo, and he's explaining to him, he's like, oh, weird hair, is what he says when he like talks about it, and he's like, Kirishima, please at least try to remember my name. And he's like, we have the same hairstyle, basically, which I laughed at, because like, it's very apparent that they do. Well,
Bakugo wears his down in the front. Kirishima wears it up. He definitely spikes like the front into horns.
Yeah.
But this is so good, though, because like Kirishima is explaining why his quirk is perfect for his team. You know, the hardening, Bakugo can fire off any of the explosions as he wants in front of him and not have to worry about hurting, you know, the hardened back of Kirishima.
Yeah, not that he would, but it was a good play on it. And actually it shows Kirishima thinking, hey, I want to be on Bakugo's team. How am I going to make myself more, like, I don't even know what would be favorable to him to use. I'm going to have to come at it like this. Like, you can showcase. He's like, you're going to be the rider, obviously. You're not going to be carrying anybody. Yeah, take your blast.
I love that his quirk clearly cut up his outfit already, too. I love that. Yeah. Because he always has that frayed collar.
It's crazy. And I like how, what did he say? I'll be the most steadfast something? Or like, I can't remember what he says like after this point. And that's what piques Bakugo's interest, is that he knows that he's going to be solid and reliable.
Well, he also even says, he's like, you're going after that 1,000,000 points, right? That's what made Bakugo be like, oh, you want to take on Deku too? Then you're on the team. Yep. He's going to just say is like, damn Deku. And Bakugo will be like, number one on my squad. All right, let's go. You hate him too? All right.
Yeah, I like how he's like someone with guts too. Just like this whole interaction between the two of them was
that
just like
face though that Bakugo's making a reaction. Is like, what? I don't care about guts.
Yeah. Yeah, it was right. It was what was like piqued his ultimate thing, and the amazing smirk face that he has.
Yep.
I think that's the next one. Yeah.
It's so evil. It's
so perfect.
He's such a bad guy. He's such a bad guy.
He's not a bad guy.
Yes, he is.
Poor Mineta. I love this. Like, everyone else is just worried about teaming up and losing their points. He's just pissed because no girl will be on his team. Like, literally, like, upset and then going off about it. And then he goes up to poor Shoji, who I think just gets talked to about everything. He must be. But Mineta's realizing, he's like, I'm too tiny to be a horse, and no one's going to carry me because I'm weak on top, basically.
But he ends up coming up with the best strategy.
Mm-hmm. And he talks about it to Shoji. He's like, well, you could carry me and hide me in your arms, and I'll be okay. And Shoji's like, that's genius.
Which is great, because, like, Shoji's still walking away, but we just see one of his tentacle arms, like, with just a mouth on it, go really close to him. He's like, that's really smart. Like, I like it.
And I think this is Mina showing off her quirk and what she can do to try to do the same thing, like basically audition to be on Bakugo's team.
I need to know how the acid helps that squad.
I don't think Bakugo cares either about that point. But it's funny because he's whispering to him in his elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably easier than him climbing up there.
Mm-hmm.
The Creation Odyssey, hello. It's such an amazing one-track mind. I'm going to guess that's about Maneda's need to be on a squad with a girl. Yeah.
Oh, and then no one wants to be on Deko's team right now. He's like isolated. I think he even goes up to Ojiro, the guy with the tail, and the guy just walks away.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they think it's gonna be a better strategy to steal from him than protect him. And he's like,
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's easier.
All these pieces, so good. And I love that Ochako comes and is just like, let's be a team.
Because she knows that they get along well enough that it'll work.
Yep. And this is another shirt I want, especially with Ochako being like, stop.
I think there's one point, like, in everyone where they're like, oh, Midoriya is going to be crying again at the end of this. It's like a regular occurrence.
I think All Might says, like, oh, he's really got it, but he has to work on crying all the time. Like, he has to work on being a crybaby. And it's great, because then this happens. And then, not this screen, but soon.
Yeah,
but she makes a really cute point.
And it does make sense. If you're going to be on a team with people, it better be people that you can get along with instead of someone you dislike.
Yeah. And I think when he says, like, there's two people that he wants on the team, I think Ochako was one of them. Like, it does seem like it's Ochako, and it is the person he'll get very much denied by in a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's my shirt. That's a shirt. Shirtable, James. Shirtable.
Yeah, he's just so, like he's so happy that she's just, like, willing to, like, say everything correctly. And I think he even says that he's, like, blinded by her, like, positivity and joy or something like that to that respect. It's cute.
Yep.
You're so bright that I can't look straight at you.
It's so cute. It's like, I don't know, he's blushing. That face is really funny. And then, there's that moment that I didn't catch until you took the screenshot and we were going through these beforehand. It was like, I did not even notice that the tears left this big puddle that Maneda came over and was like, is this pee? What happened here?
Yeah. Is it urine? Like, it's so funny. Like, that's the first thing that comes to his mind, too. I was like, okay.
I mean, you see a big pool. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. And then he goes over to Ida because he basically tells him how he would use Ida and Uraka's quote quirks to move around and use his speed and everything. And Ida's like, that's just like you, Midoriya. You came up with a great idea and everything like that, but I don't want to be on your team. And he kind of goes into this nice spiel about how he's a great friend and he's a great person, but it's not helping him grow as a hero by just relying on him all the time.
Yep. And I love that he does say Bakugo and Todoroki are the only ones who see you as a rival. It's like, I think Midoriya coming in first place in the last match really hammered home to some other people, like, hey, okay, this kid who, we don't get to see use his powers that often or anything like that, but, like, there's obviously clearly something else beyond him, and there's a reason why Shoto, and Bakugo, since before they even arrived at school, saw him as this, person to rival pretty much. And it's great that Ida is declaring this now pretty much. Is like, I hold you in this high regard, even though you are a friend as well.
Yeah. And then I think the first screen for this was Bakugo's team, and then they switch over to Todoroki's. But I think this new rivalry with Ida and Shoto was like the biggest thing for these episodes, because Bakugo's like old news. Like, he knows that he doesn't like him, so it's okay. Yep. But at this point, he's realizing that he can't just play at being friends. He needs to basically focus on himself and what's going on.
Yep. Sometimes it's not about friends. It's about, you have to make teams, as the heroes were saying, you have to make teams with people that you normally otherwise wouldn't, for the sake of whatever. You kind of see somebody else join in.
I like how she's just like person in first place, doesn't know his name, doesn't care. This is going to be your number one. That's why you're going to be in a team with me.
He is a vehicle for her. He is a means to her end.
Like, and she's like in his face too. I love this. He's like, "What are you so close for?" Like, she's like extreme. Like, you need to pay attention to me and only me. And I think later on she's going on about her. She calls them her babies, her little machines and everything, and kind of introduces herself. And then Ochako starts trying to talk to her, and then Ochako's like, "Oh, you're not interested in me at all."
Not at all.
No.
But also, it's like they get along. Her and Deku get along famously because they just start like muttering about like heroes that they both like and stuff like that. It's like it's really funny.
Yeah.
But Ochako gets so jealous.
And her reasoning is she just wants to be a part of the team that everybody's going to be watching anyways because she's trying to stand out. She's trying to push her brand. That's the whole thing.
Yep. She can get her little babies on everybody. Yep. She just wants them to be seen.
Yeah. She's so confused. She's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, realized, "Oh, you're not interested in me."
Poor Ochako.
This is and I love that she's like kind of talking about, and Deku realizes that the jetpack that they have is the same one as another jetpack hero, and I think that's what starts their conversation between the two of them. It's super cute.
It was like Master Blaster or something like that, or like Air Blaster.
Yeah, so random. And then after they get there to talk, he's like, "I need one more person," and they needed some firepower, basically, like someone strong that's going to be defending.
Strong.
Yeah. And so he's like, "I know who can fill that." He scans the whole place and he finds the person he's looking for. And
we're treated to a mid-episode cliffhanger of who that person's going to be because it's you.
It's great.
When we come back from break.
So talking strategy and just kind of going through. And then I like that he's looking at the teams and kind of like, that's kind of interesting, like the way they're teaming up and the way that things are falling into place. And so he's kind of still learning and observing and being that teacher aspect for it.
Yeah. Boom. We learn who that fourth member is. Tokoyami. Is Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow is drawn. So I really want a Dark Shadow figure, but I have no idea how they're going to do the Dark Shadow. He would have to come as just like separate accessories and different poses and stuff, I guess. Because there's no other way to do it.
They wouldn't do him posable, I don't think. It would have to be like, they could do a Bam Presto of it. It would be kind of cool.
Yeah, you know what would be interesting? That Gyarados that Eva had on your live stream last night, like you can kind of do him like that where he's segmented. So you could kind of do him posable, but he has hands too. It's being an impossible figure. I would love to see it, but he has such a cool look. Hey, look, his eyes are open.
There you go. Oh my god! And then I like that Todoroki's kind of like going through why he chose each one of them.
He has a very logical thought process to it.
And then they kind of go through everything, and Ida's like, "Well, so you're going to create diversions with ice and fire," and we get this little glimpse into him and his father, and he's like, "I will never use my left, which is his fire part, for battle." So
the very first foreshadowing of their interesting father-son dynamic.
That look was pretty great too.
It's great. We will learn within. I don't think we'll get it next. No, I think we do get it next set. Yeah. His history, and it is just, oh man, really good.
It's pretty dark for this show too, so it starts getting into that kind of craziness.
It does. I like how you said that. You worded that well. It's like it just starts because like it'll get dark. It'll get dark.
Kind of shows it off.
So here we have. We'll cycle through all the teams. We have lots of them. They're all screen capped here. I think that's the American girl, the little cowgirl in front. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I feel like his power is glue, the guy in front.
Maybe.
This is great. It's like, wait, who?
Yeah.
Team Maneta. It does say it up there, though. Monoma. This freaking prick.
Yeah. I don't even like him.
Kendo. The Invisible Girl's name is Hagakuri. I never know her name.
Yeah.
Oop, skipped over Tetsu.
That's
That really cool looking dude in front. That what a cool looking squad they have. Bakugo? Dude, they're missing a squad here. They don't cover Shinso.
Oh, they don't. That's weird.
I think because they're saving that reveal to later.
Maybe.
But look at the point total difference. 615. 1,325,000.
I like the 325 had to be added in there, but it was just like funny.
Yep. And it kicks off, and everybody just freaking rushes Midoriya's squad like instantly.
This is crazy. We have to address that she's topless in this part. This is hilarious.
Yeah, we were talking about this because we both noticed this, watching through it, and Steph brought up a really good point, how like everybody on the squad is really blushing and like looking in opposite directions, even though they can't see her. But she is topless, so like it'd be hard for them to see her, I guess. Like I don't know how that helps because the headband is clearly floating there and very visible. Like she didn't have to be topless at all. But
yeah, I
it's
don't know
really
how that gives her edge.
So, and their squad is kitted out with babies.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember Dark Shadow like asks him, he's like, make your choice now. What do you want to do? So he didn't know if he was going to fight or run. And so I think that he was prepared for either or, and he lets Midoriya decide. And
he says run, but then they start sinking into the ground, which is that skeletal guy's looking face, his power to basically make you melt into the ground. That guy, which is a cool quirk. Again, don't know how it correlates to his look, but maybe his face melted into something too.
I don't know. Oh, and then he tells them to turn their faces away because he's going to turn the jetpack on, which I thought was really interesting. So it was just like I thought he would prepare in advance. He's like, nope, you're going to look away and try not to get burned as we ignite into the sky.
Yep. And they get up there and they launch, and off they go. Dark Shadow, so cool. Oh, Jiro tries to like get at them, and Dark Shadow swats them away. And this is where Deku explains the whole omnidirectional defense. Like it was his choice for strong guy on the squad was better than he could even have hoped for because it turned what he thought was just going to be a single direction. Into an omnidirectional. It's like, it's great.
Because he's like telling me he can cover every blind spot. Because I remember he was like swooping around from every which way. It was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. He like commands him. And then Midoriya's like, oh, that's super cool. And then he's like, well, you did decide to choose me. So he's under the impression that Midoriya realizes how cool he is.
Yeah. But also, why is Deku barefoot? Just so they don't have to hold his shoes?
Maybe it's easier to hold on his hands. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, you're the one that chose me.
Yeah.
And, Ochako making everybody weightless, which is great.
And he's like saying this in his head, so like she's not even hearing all his praise. Yeah. Which kind of plays into the like later on the scenes because then the other girl like openly wants praise. She's like, tell me how great my stuff is.
And Ochako was like hates it.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, because I made everybody feel lighter, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good that their weight is just one person instead of four. So like lifting off and stuff like that, it's super easy for them. Yeah, here you go. Here's what do you think of my babies? Asking for praise.
Excellent mobility.
Babies are amazing. I love that. She is so jealous. It is great.
She's also realizing that she's actually doing quite a bit, which I think is important too, because before she was kind of trying to rely on Deku for this and thinking that team was going to be better. I think her growing too in these next few episodes is going to be great.
This during the whole sports festival, I think Ochako has some of the best progression in character. Her and Shoto, I think, have like the best. Fucking Monoma.
I dislike him so much, and I don't. He's just annoying. I don't know why.
He is. He's such a prick. He's not wrong here. at all. He's like, he profits while other people fight. He's like, we learned that he stole the headband off of the Invisible Girl.
Yeah.
That's why he's twirling here, because they look up at her and they see that she's not wearing one, and he's just taking advantage while they're all going after Deku. They're like, well, I'll just pick up of everybody else. And I think you probably have it here, but he explains like all of his thinking going into this.
About how they had the class all together, like 1B kind of ran together, and the people that kind of went forward at the end because they were waiting to get everybody into there because they kind of knew something like the Cavalry battle was going to be happening later.
Yep.
That they can't have 100 people doing a tournament.
No, they can't. Did they do? We already cover. Would we have already covered the point where they purposely like didn't go for first or second place?
I think it's he starts talking about it quite early on. I think it might be right after this. Nope, this is the one-sided pillage.
This is such a good moment. I was super impressed with Maneda's planning and his whole team here. They were a devastating trio.
And this is your Tetsu's coming from the other side, and they're like, well, we have to leave. We have to like fly out of here. We can't fight both of them coming at us. And this is when they realize that they're stuck in place because they don't understand why Shoji's by himself either. There's like, it's supposed to be a team thing. And then the purple goo.
Yep, there's a ball under there, but they don't know like where it's coming from. And Deku's even like, wait, Maneda? Like, where is he? Like, I clearly that's a Maneda ball. Like, he has no idea where he's coming from. And then we get creepy fucking Maneda just like sticking out from Shoji's arms.
Yeah.
From here, Midoriya.
Yeah.
I think he even does this with his hands. Like he's being extra creepy.
Yeah. And then you get like the barrage of the balls flying. There's the tongue going off because she's trying to grab the headband off of Midoriya at the same time. Plus Shoji's moving ridiculously fast.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't think I got one with the tongue coming out of there. But they actually like take off really, really up into the sky with the jetpack, and it rips the boots off of Maneda's thing. That's how strong they are, though, too. You think about it, how sticky they are.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they don't unstick. He said. I'm sure he had a good bowel movement this morning, so I love this cutaway scene too. James is like, ugh, balls flying.
I like this too because he thinks he's getting way up in the air that no one's going to go up there because he has the whole team up there, and does not stop him.
No, Bakugo always in pursuit, and he tries, but omnidirectional defense. Poor Dark Shadow, as we know. Dark Shadow has a weakness to well, maybe we don't know this yet, so maybe I won't say that. Never mind.
I think this is a point where someone else notices that too.
Yes.
It comes up later. Yeah. It's such a good little cross reference too between the two of them.
It is. It's great. And I love Zero catching. You can talk about your point.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's just like, hey, you got to come back now. And like, I like at present Mike during this whole time is like freaking out because he can't believe that Shoji's covering the other people, but why Bakugo gets to fly off of his team and like take off. And they're like, in midnight, it's like, technically it's not breaking the rules.
So, but she does say, like, if he did not land back in their arms, they would have been disqualified. But because of Zero saving him pretty much, though he could have exploded his way back, I think. He wouldn't have because he would have stayed up in the air by himself.
Yeah, and also, too, I think that he wouldn't be able to, like, land without hurting the other two, without having kind of like a guide to get back down.
True. Yeah.
And then with one of the boots broken, too, she's having trouble moving around anyways, too, with all the jetpack in the air, I think, too.
Yeah. Because, yeah, that's how they're doing their left and right, I believe, is like the hover platforms on their boots, keeping them kind of panning left and right. But with one side down, they're not going to be able to do it. And I like that he even makes this as a conscious effort. It's like, okay, we won't be able to fly anymore. So,
It's only been 7 minutes too for this. That made me laugh. I'm like, wow, it's a lot of stuff to happen in 7 minutes. And then they bring up the current rankings, which this little snide glance made me laugh.
Well, it's because they show up the ranking board. It's 2 columns, and one side has all the points. The other side are all 0, and you're like, wait, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
And then you come to Monoma.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And Bakugo doesn't have any points, which is very highly surprising because he just landed. I thought it was 666 for a really long time too.
Oh really?
I thought that would have been hilarious.
They all are 5-point increments, though, right?
Yeah, which is the hard part. So, but I thought it was like when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's so perfect. But no, 665.
He's basically just being a prick. Because he doesn't have to be as awful about it. He could be like, oh, well, you guys aren't paying attention, so it's easy enough. But no, he's like, you're too simple-minded, Class A. Everybody's saying how great you are and blah, 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 blah. And,
yeah. But also Bakugo was mean to them in front of the place. So this is a good time to basically make fun of Bakugo, who is now irate that he's like doesn't have any points. I like this whole like he's trying to bring Bakugo down a peg, not realizing like what is actually going to occur by talking down to him. And it's just it's funny to watch people interact with their things. And he's like talking about how they already know their quirks, how we're going on to this, and there's no points to being obsessive. Yeah, he's just the way he just like monotones it, like he's so cool. He has everything put together, and then Bakugo's reaction to it.
I think that's when he explains the whole idea, like, oh, in the previous match, we purposely didn't go for first place because we knew that, the next one was going to probably be something that, being in first, second place didn't help you out at all. So as long as we made it in, that's all that mattered. And so that's when Bakugo's like, you did this as a class effort kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think he even says that it wasn't a consensus, so people in his class were not on board with his plan.
No, because people in his class, we'll learn this later, I don't mind saying it, but people in this class also hate Monoma.
Yeah.
He just has a really awesome power, so that's why he's, there.
There's like a final dig too. I think I have the slides for it when he talks to him about being, oh, you're famous for being captured by a slime villain, and the sludge,
victim of the sludge incident, which he absolutely hates. And this is my favorite Bakugo like look when he does this with his mouth, and like we see it like pan up, and we kind of get that look in his eyes while he teases him about being attacked by villains every year, like an annual event.
Yeah. This is probably like the coolest point ever because Kirishima wants him to know his name, wants him to like point it out. And I think this is actually a point. Like, I don't think he ever calls anybody, like Deku's the closest thing he'll call to somebody's name in anything. And he literally is just like, Kirishima, change of plan, like knows that he's going to be down for it. And I remember Kirishima was like shaking, and then they'd show this shot, and I was like, "Oh, he's mad."
I like the pan up that happened on this shot too. It's like it's a slow pan because you see the reaction, and it's just like this explosion of angry, vile energy coming off of Bakugo.
Yeah, like he's just he's like, "We're gonna not worry about Deku right now," and then just like
it's so good. Awesome. Such a cool drawing too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think at some point during this when he's like running around, he's thinking, oh, Bakugo's like contained over there hating everybody else. And that comes the perfect time for him to like have his other rivals show up.
Yep. And then he's staring down the barrel of a very difficult challenge ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're about to enter the second half of the Cavalry battle, which will be the next episode. But we get left on the cliffhanger of what's going to kick us off pretty much. And, we get a little kind of pan to everybody. Maneda's probably hurting up top because he threw a barrage of purple balls.
He lost his headband.
Oh, that's what it is. I thought it was hurting his head, but yeah. It's so funny.
They didn't even know what they unleashed there.
Look at Kendo back there with all those headbands. She has a ton.
Well, they're not good. The other guy's not going to go near her.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. No. That is, yeah. But boom, that's what Midoriya is facing down against Shoto and Ida. Shoto and Ida and Momo and Kaminari. So we have a big battle ahead coming up. I love his just plain as day. Like, I'll be taking that now.
Yeah.
So cool. And that's how we end this 3-episode stint. It was a lot to kind of kick off the beginning of the Roaring Sports Festival. So, well, thank you, James. James, I remember to hit that like button, though, guys. Appreciate that. Favorite moments from this, or favorite moment from this episode?
It's gonna be when that guy just makes Baka go over the edge, because like usually that's saved for like Deku or Shoto. Later on, we figure out is like that's his two like tipping points. Like those two characters can make him just go nuts.
Yep.
And it's funny to watch somebody else just get on his nerves enough where he's just like, okay, you're not an extra anymore. I need to destroy you.
Like my crosshairs have now moved and are focused on you, and you are gonna be the one I take down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it has to be Kirishima explaining to Bakugo how he's an asset to his team, and he's just like, and know my name kind of thing. I don't know. I just feel like I love watching their camaraderie start to build, and this is like after we saw them in the USJ get kind of like caught together, and that's the first like beginning of their budding friendship. I think we saw the next big step with this. And it will kind of continue from here on. So I love watching those two guys, bro out together. So let's see. Christian says, awesome analysis. Thank you, Christian. James, his favorite moment is not Mineta coming through the Mii curtains. That's disgusting, James. Thank you. Yeah. And maybe we'll just end the episode there. But yeah. So next week we have the end of the cavalry battle, and then we have the beginning of the next set of battles, which is the one-on-one. So, I think it's the top 10 people, right, who win the cavalry?
I think so, yeah. It's not very many of them, because I think it's yeah.
And we'll have some people bow out, too, for reasons that we'll go into.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting stuff ahead. I'm so excited for this, and then again the arc to come after. It's like, yeah, we're on a roll, and we will be back next Saturday, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us this week. I got 14 episodes to go. For what? Do you know what that means, Steph?
Oh, for my wife. Maybe. Yes. I think for a certain character to come.
Oh, for my wife. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have until after the next arc. So yeah, you got a while.
Yeah, it's more than 14.
That's a reaction to the character that's going to be a part of the mini arc that happens after this arc. So it's a while. But yeah, so good stuff. So yeah. Plus Ultra, feels Dan. Yes, Plus Ultra, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and thanks for tuning in. See you next week.